Let's talk about why Take fans are hypocrites for criticizing Canelo Alvarez. So recently, I know many of you are aware, Canelo Alvarez made the statement that he would fight anyone for 150, $200 million. So we're going to listen to what Canelo Alvarez had to say, and then I'll break this down in greater detail, and I'll explain why Tank fans are hypocrites for criticizing Canelo Alvarez. So this video appears courtesy of Fight Hub. Subscribe to Fight Hub TV. Let's listen to what Canelo had to say.
You don't think that's the one of the biggest fights that can be made?
I don't. Maybe, who knows? But he brings nothing to the table for me. It's just he brings just 25 pounds more in the night, the fight on the night. That's it. But if some promoter, not him because he's nothing to offer me anything. He's nothing to offer me money. I'm the one. I'm the one. So, but if one promoter who I work to, they come and say, I offer to you 150 to 200 million. I fight tomorrow.
Canelo,
That's the only reason I fight with him because the only thing he brings to the table is 25 more pounds.
Joy, but is there any pressure to make the fight we're speaking about Benavidez? Because you got people
No
like
pressure.
Mike Tyson and
No
even
pressure.
Ryan Garcia. They said Ryan Garcia said if he was you, he would already fight Benavidez. Mike Tyson said you need to fight him. Is there any pressure?
I don't
in
need
terms
to
of
fight
people?
anybody. I don't need to prove anybody anything because I remember when this happened with Golovkin, and then it happened with this. So I don't need to prove anything with anybody. So this fight with Jaime Munguia, you need to respect it because this fight is more important than other fights.
All right, so that's what Canelo said. So they brought this to Leonard Ellaby, and they asked Leonard Ellaby his opinion on the situation, and Leonard Ellaby gave his take. And for those of you who don't know, Leonard Ellaby, Floyd Mayweather's longtime business partner, so he spoke about this, and he also works with Javante Tank Davis, so he understands the business and how they run Tank. And so here's what Leonard Ellaby had to say.
Canelo made a comment that, hey, someone offers me 150, 200 million, I'll take the fight as soon as possible. I don't know. On one side, it got me thinking, is he trying to build this up like your man Floyd and Manny to a point where like this fight is so big now that it has to happen? Or is it something else? You with perspective, how do you see that situation?
Well, one thing I do know is that Canelo and Eddie Reynoso are very, very smart, savvy businessmen.
Well, they learn from you guys.
Yeah, that's a fact. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. He knows what he's doing, and I can tell the fan, look into the camera and tell the fans, Canelo Alvarez is not scared of David Benavidez. That's not true. That's not true. No matter what the perception looks like, that man ain't scared. The fighters fight. Again, he knows what he's doing. Again, is that I think when they fight, it's going to be a terrific fight. It's going at that point in time, it'll be the biggest fight in all of boxing.
So you're confident it does happen?
I wouldn't say confident, but I think it happens. I think it happens.
So in your position, from a business perspective.
So let's listen to what he said about the excuse me. Let's listen to what he said about the business aspect of it.
Why hasn't it happened now? Do you think if we wait a little bit longer, it can get to a higher monetary value? Do you think that's really what it is?
Well, with these kind of fights at this level, it's just patience. And I know everybody wants everything right now, and it should have happened. I mean, I've seen this movie before.
I know.
Things don't happen when the media and the fans want them to happen for a number of reasons. And actually, I was reading something. I don't know if it was on your site where someone was saying something about along the lines of Canelo might have felt disrespected or something.
All right, well, you heard what he said. He's seen the movie before. Fights don't always happen when the fans and media wants it, but that doesn't mean anything. So one more thing I want to show you is an article, because after that, I'm going to explain to you why I believe that the Tank fans who are criticizing Canelo Alvarez are being hypocrites. Then I'm going to give you my personal take on this matter. So here we go. So we're going to take a look at this article. And you see Canelo Alvarez's last fight against Jamal Charlo, he did between 600, 700,000 pay-per-view buys. Now, this was a fight that many people found underwhelming and felt like they wanted him to fight David Benavidez then. But even still, Canelo Alvarez was able to get between 600, 700,000 pay-per-view buys. Now, let's talk about David Benavidez. When David Benavidez fought Demetrius Andrade, two undefeated guys who both lobby for fights against Canelo Alvarez, it did 60,000 pay-per-view buys. 60,000 pay-per-view buys. You in the boxing public at large would say Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade is a much better fight than Canelo versus Charlo. We would say we thought it was a more competitive fight. We thought it was a pick'em fight. We thought that was a better fight, more competitive fight. But as it turns out, Canelo still sells way more. Way more. So when he says he brings nothing to the table and you guys act like he's ducking, look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. When he fought Caleb Plant, there's discrepancies between 60,000 in that fight. I saw some people floating around 750,000, which is cap. Even at best, if you give him 100,000 pay-per-view buys for that fight, it still would be extremely low, especially in comparison to what Canelo did with Caleb Plant. This is what Canelo was talking about. When you just look at the numbers, he is the draw. Tank fans understand that concept when Tank is talking to Devin Haney, though. When Tank is talking to Devin, they say, oh, Devin, what did you sell? You can't sell nothing. What were your numbers against Vasily Lomachenko? What were your numbers against Kambosos? You only did 50,000 pay-per-view buys against Regis. When Tank is using that same logic against Devin, it's cool. When Tank sons Devin that way, it's cool. But when Canelo's doing it to Benavidez, y'all, Canelo's a ducker, but Tank's not ducking. When Tank does it to Devin, it's just business. It just is what it is. But when Canelo does it to David Benavidez, oh, he's ducking. He's scared. So why isn't Tank scared of Devin? Canelo goes on to say he brings nothing but 25 more pounds on the night. Right? And everyone says, oh, he's scared. Oh, that's punk move. Why is he worried about weight? Oh, he's outweighed his opponents in the past. He weighed 20 pounds more than Amir Khan. But when Tank fans argue with Devin, when they argue about Devin, they say he's a weight bully. Oh, if he wants to fight Tank, he needs a rehydration clause. If he wants to fight Tank, he needs to come down to 135. So now weight matters? When Devin's about to fight Tank, y'all care about weight. But when it comes to Canelo, the weight shouldn't matter. He shouldn't be concerned with the weight. He's a punk for mentioning the weight. But when it comes to Gervonta, oh, nah, buddy, you got to come down to 135 or you got to agree to a rehydration clause. You see the hypocrisy in all this? People root for who they like, and when they like someone, they switch the way they view things. When Tank is speaking to Devin, it's okay to son Devin by saying you can't sell. You're not a pay-per-view draw. It's okay for Tank to do that to Devin. When Tank's negotiating with Devin, it's okay for Tank to say, you're a weight bully. You come in 25 pounds over the weight limit. I want a rehydration clause. But when Canelo is doing it to Benavidez, the people call him a punk. The people call him a ducker. The people have an issue with that. And the only thing that changes is your expectation of Canelo. Right? So we'll continue. When David Benavidez beats Caleb Plant, everyone says, oh, he's earned a shot. He's earned a shot against Canelo now. Mind you, Canelo beat Caleb Plant first, beat Caleb Plant when he was champion to become undisputed at 168, which he collected all the titles in 1 year. David Benavidez was at 168 more than 1 year. He never collected more than one title. Canelo was at 168 for 1 year. He collected all the titles. And now he's the one who he stopped Caleb Plant. David Benavidez fights Caleb Plant, goes 12 rounds with Caleb Plant, gets a decision, and then everyone's like, he earned a shot against Canelo. Then he goes and he fights Demetrius Andrade, the guy who moved up in weight. His first fight at the weight class, Demetrius Andrade gassed out after 2 rounds. He came in so heavy. He stops Demetrius Andrade. Everyone's demanding he's earned a shot at Canelo. But let me tell you how they switch things. Devin Haney's now fighting Ryan Garcia. What are they saying? Oh, he's fighting Tank's leftovers. He's not going to sell as much as Tank. Oh, he's fighting Tank's leftover. Devin said he want to fight Mario Barrios after. Oh, he's fighting Tank leftovers. They're not saying, oh, if Devin beats Ryan, he's earned a shot at Tank. They're not saying that. If Devin goes 12 rounds with Ryan and beats Ryan by decision, they're going to be like, oh, well, Tank knocked him out and Devin got no punching power. He couldn't knock them out. Well, why don't y'all say that about Benavidez? Why isn't the narrative Canelo stopped Caleb Plant? Benavidez couldn't. He's pillow fist. Why aren't y'all calling him pillow fist Benavidez? Because you don't like Canelo. That's what this all boils down to, and that's what this is. Canelo's doing the same exact thing that Tank does to Devin, except Tank fans like Tank, and they want Tank to have every advantage over Devin, so they support Tank's antics. They don't like Canelo, so they want to hold him to a different standard than they hold their own fighter to. And it's the same across the board. Because Devin Haney fans do the same exact thing that Tank does to Devin to Subriel Matias. As soon as you mention Subriel Matias, they're like, what has he done? He has to prove himself. He hasn't beat nobody. Why is that? Because at the end of the day, boxing is a business. Boxing is the way these fighters support their families. So when you assess your next fight, you have to look at how much can this fight generate and what's the risk. You want to make the most money for the least amount of risk. It's not just Canelo. It's Gervonta Tank Davis and Devin Haney. It's every fighter in the game most of the time. So for you to sit there now and try to flip it on Canelo, it's just ridiculous. That's what Leonard Ellaby was talking about. I've seen this movie many times. The fans don't get to fight when they want it, whatever they say, whatever. But Jaime Munguia versus Canelo Alvarez will do in between 600, 700,000. It's possible it can do more. But if it does in between 600, 700,000, that's still way more than David Benavidez is going to do with any one of his opponents, anyone he can fight. Dimitri Bivol had to learn that the hard way. When Dimitri Bivol refused to accept the rematch with Canelo at 175, look at the trajectory of his career and how he ended up having to bounce around, and now he's in there with Beterbiev, and there's some people who believe he has a chance. Salute to them. We'll see what happens. But I'll tell you what, he could have made a ton of money just doing that rematch with Canelo at 175. So now you got David Benavidez. What are his options? And what is he going to make? This is what Canelo's talking about. He brings nothing to the table. So Can you guarantee that if Canelo fights David Benavidez, they're going to break 1 million pay-per-view buys? You cannot. We talk about Earl Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford for years. Oh, it's the fight everyone wants to see. And when they fought, they did around the same amount of pay-per-view buys as Canelo did with Charlo. So if you want to get mad at someone, get mad at the boxing fans who don't put their money where their mouth is. Because all you had to do was dish your money out for Benavidez versus Andrade, get him some decent pay-per-view buys, and then maybe Canelo looks at it like maybe the risk is worth the reward. Remember, Canelo's the one who collected all the belts. Canelo's the one who knocked out Plant to get the belt. And then David Benavidez did it after. Well, he didn't even do it after. He beat him after. He didn't knock him out after. And then he knocked out an aging, Demetrius Andrade, who didn't even look good against Nichols, I think his name was. Demetrius Andrade showed signs of decline in his last 2 fights. Go look at it. He didn't look like the same prime Andrade. But it doesn't matter because I don't like Canelo. So now it's, you want him to fight Benavidez. Look at what Canelo fought Dimitri Bivol. Look at Dimitri Bivol's skill set. Look at what he's done. Look at where he's at. Look at what Canelo's done against common opponents with David Benavidez. What is it about David Benavidez that makes you think Canelo would be scared of him as you're trying to make it out to be? So for some of you who missed what was happening, let me slow it down and rewind it for y'all. Canelo was trying to get the bag. He named his price. So now His Excellency, Turkey Al-Sheikh, the man who's throwing money around, can decide if he wants to pick up that tab. That's what he was doing. So Turkey Al-Sheikh says, nah, I'm not paying that much. So what if they negotiate all the way down to 50 million? Now Canelo gets 50 million in one fight against David Benavidez. Now he's made the risk worth the reward. Everyone knows this in negotiations. You start high and you work your way to a number. Remember Tyson Fury? I need $1 billion to fight for Undisputed. Did he get it? Is he making $1 billion? No, he's not. He was just chatting. You know what I mean? But you got to understand how the business works. Canelo's not afraid of David Benavidez. He's trying to negotiate the maximum amount of money for his services, which is what you should do in a business. So y'all need to chill. Y'all okay with pulling out pay-per-view numbers and sunning? And the reality is, Tank got one fight where he broke 1 million pay-per-view buys. Canelo has a few. And Canelo is consistent with his numbers across the board. Just like when Floyd did what he did, I say, he got the right to choose who he want to fight because he's the draw at the end of the day. He's the A side. And the fights with Manny Pacquiao didn't work out, and eventually it did work out, and we got the Pacquiao fight. I said it with Earl Spence and TC. I said TC got to take the 40 because Earl Spence right now, he's the A side. Once TC cook Earl Spence, TC's the A side now. I said Spence got to do what TC want to do. TC called the shots now. That's the way it is, man. So I say that to say I'm sick of people being hypocrites. 1 minute you hold one fighter to this standard, the next minute you hold this fighter to that standard. I said it. I would love to see Tank fight Devin, and if they do, I don't think there should be any catch weight. I don't think there should be no rehydration clause. Oh, that brings me to another point. That makes me laugh. When Tank beat the dog snot out of a 16, 17-year-old Devin Haney in a sparring session, no one brings up the weight advantage that Tank had then over a teenager. All you do is laugh at the teenager for getting hurt for fighting a grown man because you like Tank. Tank outweighed Devin in that sparring session. Go back and look at it. But y'all don't care about that. He was a teenager with a weight disadvantage, and y'all don't care about that. Now that you care when they're both grown men about to step in the ring. Now you care about Devin's weight advantage. Man, stop it with this, man. Look, fighters fight. That's what fighters do. The business is the business. Nobody works. Nobody works for free, and nobody wants to do hard work for less money. I don't care. If you're a landscaper and you had a house that was 2,000 square feet of you doing work versus and it was going to pay you $500, and there was a house that was 500 square feet worth of work and it was going to pay you $500, you were going to take the house that's 500 square feet and make the same amount of money. You're not going to do the 2,000 square foot house just to prove you're good at your job. You're not just going to do your job for the sake of doing your job to show you're good at your job. If you're a lawyer and there's one case that's going to lock you up for a year, it's going to require you to do, stringent amount of work for 1 year, and the outcome is you're going to make $1 million. And there's this other case that's going to require the same amount of work. It's going to tie you up for a year, and you're going to make $50,000. But the other case is going to show your skill more. It's going to show that you're really a good lawyer. The other case is going to lock you up for a year, but you're still going to be able to live your life. It's not going to, you're going to take the case for $1 million. Yeah, it's stringent, but you're going to make $1 million, and it's not going to be as much work as this other case. Although you get to show your skills more. Well, nobody's fighting to, that doesn't pay the bills. That doesn't help. Taking beatings, like the sport of boxing has changed. So I'll close with this, because I didn't even anticipate this video being this long, to be honest with you. But I'm just sick of the hypocrisy. And when you lay stuff down, when it's Tank versus Devin, you can talk about catch weights. You can talk about rehydration clause. You can talk about who sells more. When it's Devin versus Subrio, you can talk about who sells. You can talk about who he's fought. You can talk about him not being known. But when Canelo does it to everyone else, then it's a problem. There's nothing wrong with what Canelo Alvarez is doing. In fact, he's doing what everyone else does. I just showed you that. The problem is with you. You hold fighters to different standards. And when you don't like a fighter, you want to trash the fighter. Stop being hypocrites. If you want to see Canelo Alvarez fight David Benavidez, put your money where your mouth is. And once you stop paying and stop stealing fights, the fights you want to see will happen. Sometimes when things don't happen, you got to look in the mirror and point the finger at yourself. If you really think David Benavidez is like that, if you really think David Benavidez is a draw, pay for his fights when he's fighting Gadek, or when he's fighting Andrade, or when he's fighting whoever he's fighting. Pay to see him then. But the reality is you don't care about Benavidez. You just want to see Canelo lose. And you want to put your support behind anyone you think can beat Canelo. And right now, that guy's David Benavidez. Just like that guy used to be Triple G. But now that guy is David Benavidez. So you're not paying to see Benavidez when he fights anyone else but Canelo. And for that, it is your fault. That's all I got to say on this matter. Peace.